welcome to GSTL. This is Jupiter Week 3. And with me is Unstable. How are you doing, Unstable?
I'm good, much better than last week. Thank you for asking.
Yeah? You two's doing okay?
It is.
Well, that's good to hear. We've got two great teams. We just got a shot of both of their banners. We've got oGs versus MVP today. Obviously, you can see the horse there. The horse on top of that oGs is not just for show. We've got two TL members here today. There's MVP coming down now. Hopefully none of them get burned by those dangerous looking flames. All of them coming down. The coach, of course, there at the back. Pretty solid team overall. Did end up losing last season to Slayers just barely, but defeated Slayers, of course, just previously. They're going to do the little cheer here, getting prepared. And I gotta say, these guys are probably feeling pretty confident going into this match. oGs is not a team that's done extremely well in the team leagues in the past. I think Unstable's got a headset issue, so as soon as he works that out, he's gonna rejoin the conversation.
There we go. I think I'm back.
Oh, okay, I think you're back too, because I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. oGs generally have had the more individual successes rather than the team, and then you flip it over to MVP, they've performed better in the team league, so it'll be interesting to see how these two teams stack up.
Yeah, we've got Genius in there, we've got Tails in there. There on the edge is Keen. You can see Genius, of course, in the middle there. He's looking very intensely at that computer screen. We're going to take a look at some coach interviews. Actually, no, we're not going to do the coach interview yet. Not yet, but we will see that. Obviously, right now, we're going to take a look at some of the information about MVP. They're 8th place in the GSTL, but that's because they didn't participate in the first two. Obviously, they were runner-up in the... well, I won't talk about that right now. We want to talk about this. Okay. So there's their win rate against certain teams on that little graph. It's actually kind of complicated. I don't know if I can figure this out exactly.
I'd say it'd be 100% versus Prime in oGs TL and 50 versus Slayers, depending. If I'm reading that correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously on the right, you've got the breakdown of which races the players are. So they have 5 Process, 4 Zergs, 3 Terrans, and a random.
Yep.
That random player is, of course, Guinea Pig, who switches race all the time.
Yeah, he gets a lot of play in the team leagues as well.
Yep, so there's the players themselves. You can see Finale on the far right. I believe that's him. He is the starter for today. So he's got a peace sign up. Maybe he's a peaceful guy. He actually hasn't won any televised games. He's played 4 times on the GSL and has lost every single one of those games.
Yeah, well, it was 2 sets, 4 games in total. So
right.
It'd be interesting. It's an interesting choice by MVP, but I wouldn't put him past him for Finale to be a very strong player.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to send someone out who's bad or sloppy on the first player. That's just not something that's going to happen. There's the players there. There's their Gatorade sitting on their desk. I wish I had some Gatorade on my desk. You guys should go get some Gatorade and put it on your desk. There's Dong Regu there, right in front of those Gatorade bottles. He is a pretty scary guy. Not in person. I mean, like when I talk to him, he's really nice. You know, I don't really get nervous when I talk to him. He's not actually a scary guy, but if you meet him on the ladder, you meet him in the team league, he's pretty scary. So here comes oGs now walking down through the flames, and of course, this is not just oGs. This is oGs TL. That's why there's a horse there. That's not just any horse. That's the Team Liquid horse. There's the wind, of course, in the center. You guys can see Genro and Huck wearing the blue Team Liquid shirts. They have partnered with oGs. They've been here in Korea for several months now, probably about 8 months. Practicing with them, living in the house. Well, not always living in the house, but sometimes living in the house.
Well, for these two in particular, I believe, unless they're at a competition, they have been living in the house.
Right.
A few other Team Liquid members have been back and forth due to whatever reason.
Exactly.
But these two have been here since the beginning.
That's right. They look a little bit nervous, I'll be honest with you, just looking at their faces right now. Some of them look comfortable, others do not.
Well, it is their first match of the season, and MVP coming off a win versus Slayers in the very first round, so it would be a tense moment for them. They really need to prove something, as like we were saying before, they haven't performed as well as people had expected them to in the previous GSTL seasons.
There's the flag given to the fan in the audience. Now, Genro and Huck actually sitting at the front there. I gotta say, we might see these guys, we might not. Genro and Huck, well, it looks like someone gave them actually a gift. the best OGS is what I was told that says. I can't actually really read it on my screen, but anyway, someone actually gave that to them here at the studio, so I don't know what's exactly inside the box. I'm sure it's all sorts of goodies. But as I was saying, Huck has been improving a lot and has been doing extremely well, something that Jinro did months ago. He improved significantly, but since then hasn't done as well as Huck has just recently. So it'll be interesting to see which one of these guys play, if either of them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, definitely. I wouldn't put it past OGS to use Huck at all, considering he has been putting in the hours. And he's really deserved it recently. Absolutely.
Take a look at OGS's information. 5th place, they actually did pretty decently in all 3 seasons, round of 8. You know, that's okay. I mean, I'm trying to remember which teams they lost to, actually, and I just can't for the life of me remember, but I'm remembering back, and I remember them being close series, and that there weren't any all kills or anything like that.
No, they were all close series. I believe one of them was versus MVP in the latest season.
Yeah.
May, that is. Of course, their coach, Park, saying, "Oh, that's gone too fast."
It's going too fast, yeah. That is not an impressive graph. It looks like every single team they're playing against here in the Jupiter side, they have lost to.
Or not played at all.
Or not played against, right. They have no wins, no experience playing against those teams. Not a very even split on races either. They've got 5 Protoss, 4 Zergs, and 8 Terrans. It's a pretty Terran-heavy team, to be honest.
A lot of teams are like that as well, like Slayers. Oh, okay. It turns out these stats on the left-hand graph are just from this season.
Okay.
So this is the first match. That explains a lot.
That does make a lot more sense. Yep. There's a shot of all the team members now. As you can see at the bottom right, you see Chris LaRanger and Jonathan Walsh. Both of them actually were at MLG when the photo shoot was done, so don't see them there in the picture, but they're, of course, part of the lineup. That's where you see Team OGS-TL. You can see the STC up there at the top left. That guy is pretty scary. He's actually the starter today for OGS, and he's one of the sickest players I've ever seen.
Yeah, he recently came out of the army. I believe he went in just before the beta. I'm not exactly sure on the dates of that, but played even while he was in the army, was a force to be reckoned with during that. And now that he's out, I really want to see what will happen to him after he gets some good training under his belt.
Yeah, he's an absolutely great player now. Obviously, these are the 2 coaches on the left. We have MVP's coach on the right. You have OGS's coach. He's just explaining the rules to them, making sure they're not going to beat each other up after the match, trying to make sure it's a courteous event, trying to keep up the friendlies. So I gotta say, I'm really excited for this first match. Like I said, this is going to be Finale versus the STC. It's going to be a TVP. Finale, not a lot of success. STC, never been on a televised match at the GSL, but has played in so many online events and has won a ton of them and never done any bad, never done bad at all.
Yeah.
Just, he's always great.
And of course, we are here at the Mokdong studio here for the GSL, brought to us by GOM TV.
Yep. So go to gomtv.net to watch VODs. Get a subscription. You can watch in high quality. Also remember that you can go to m.gomtv.net to watch on your mobile phone. This is the first season of GSTL, the first real regular season, guys. That's why it's a longer, obvious, it's like a longer, more extended package. So it costs a little bit more, but there's a lot more content. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Don't hesitate to buy it. Don't. If you're sitting in your home, you're like, I'm not really sure. Listen to me. I'm telling you what's right. I'm telling you the good things to do.
Mm-hmm. That's right. But one thing I want to talk to you about, Wolf, is Finale. What do you think we're going to see from him? He's very, very new to the televised scene, of course.
They, just pop down. Look at that down there. Just wanted to mention that to you guys one more time while it's there on the screen. You can, I'm doing it backwards. You can watch 2011 GSTL Season 1 at gomtv.net. So just make sure you do that. I want to make sure there's no confusion. You guys know where to watch it at gomtv.net. m.gomtv.net down there is where you can watch on your mobile phone. You can follow GomTV at Twitter. You can follow me at Twitter at FXOWolf. You can follow this guy on Twitter at FXOUnstable. So anyway, back to what we were saying about Finale. Yes. I would expect him to do a build that's very solid. Our first starting map is Metalopolis. Could be a Void Ray all-in, but he knows the thing about picking your first players. You don't know who your opponent's players can be first. But if Finale is someone who's relatively inexperienced, they might not want him to do a build like a Void Ray all-in because it's very nerve-wracking and you have to be very specific about how you do it. If you mess it up, you get nervous or something because you don't have that much televised experience, or you just don't have a lot of experience in general.
Yeah, well, the build itself is extremely strong. We're seeing it a lot more often in tournaments these days, as it requires a very calm sense of
exactly.
play. Little tiny things just snowball over through when you're being attacked or actually attacking with this build. And like you're saying, given the nerves that he's probably his first GSTL match for one, he has been in the booth a couple times before, but it's a very risky build to do for him. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's playing against the STC, who we've talked about in cast a lot. I know you guys don't necessarily watch us when we cast FXO events or other events, but Unstable and I both cast tons of different events other than the GSL. But the STC, we call him the hardest egg to crack because you just cannot break his defenses. He plays somewhat risky, but still, no one can ever kill him. He is just so defensive. So we'll see if Finale has an all-in type of build. I think it's going to be the wrong one. Maybe Finale knows this about the STC. I expect to see Finale actually not do a Void Ray all, and I expect them to just try to play a longer, more standard game.
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
I think we might be about to jump into that match right now. No, we're going to check out these players, actually. I was getting too excited there for a second. I was like, is it happening right now? I don't see the countdown. All right, so there's the Finale. His record, 0 wins and 2 losses. Obviously, that's 4 games played, so that's why I was saying he's played 4 games and lost all of them. He got 2-0'd twice in his. He played in the open season number 2, I believe, and he played in last season of Code. Didn't do very well, but that's okay because they obviously see promise in him. They wouldn't have started with him if he hasn't been improving a lot. He doesn't feel confident. You have to start with a confident player. You can't start with someone who's going to get nervous or freak out or choke. You just really can't do that.
Well, given the fact he did lose both of his rounds in the GSL anyway, it doesn't really say much considering he got there in the first place, which is very difficult to do. A lot of players down in Code B, there are a lot of gems down there that we haven't really seen yet before, and the GSTL is a great way for them to expose themselves to the rest of the community, which I think is great. So we'll see how he fares today against the SCC, but like we were saying, a very tough egg to crack. So we're about to see him.
There's OGS over there. The STC's not sitting with them because he's right there. Speaking of players who show a lot of promise in Code B, this guy is one of them. He's yet to qualify. He actually lost to Love Shiny Star, the guy who Jinro beat in the round of 16 of Code A. So this guy's really good. You know, that result doesn't really speak for his playing style, I don't think. Wasn't actually able to watch him lose.
And I think it was around of 32 that he beat.
Oh yeah, round of 32, sorry, not some.
So we did get revenge for the STC. I don't actually know how the games went down at the Codec qualifiers for that, but I do believe it was a 2-1, a very close series.
Yeah.
And that really was only a couple of weeks after he came out of the army as well. He now had another few weeks to get under his belt. A lot of the training and a lot of the mindset to do well here today.
STC, like we were saying, just plays he plays an aggressive economic style normally, especially in TVT, but we've seen him do it in other matchups as well. He's the kind of guy who's going to go for a gasless 1 barrack expand and just make it work no matter what build is thrown at him. He's the guy who is going to go for a CC first and TVZ just because he wants to. This guy's pretty scary.
Yeah, well, it comes down to a lot about when he was in the army. He didn't have that much time to practice a lot of stuff, and he just really did the 1 barrack expand over and over and over again. He saw so many ways people tried to crack him, and he just got so good at defending that it's really become a staple of his play, and we'll see how it comes into this as we are going into the game any second on Metalopolis.
Yep, the map is loading up. Will STC crush Finale, or will Finale show us some promise here at the GSTL? This is Jupiter Week 3. I am Wolf, and with me is Unstable. Let's jump into the game. All right, down here, the bottom center, a member of the team, MVP. Hasn't really shown his stuff yet, but will he today?
MVP Finale!
Maybe he will. He's not. It's ironic that he's starting because his name is Finale. Starting it out with a bang. MVP team is today's MVP. I like that. That's clever. All right, over here at the 9 o'clock position, a member of the team OGS. He is
oGs team, the STC.
Actually played Brood War as well. I don't remember what his ID was in Brood War, though.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember either, but we are going to have close air spawns here on Metalopolis for these two guys. How do you think that's going to play into the matchup today?
Well, to be honest, it makes a lot of different builds good in this matchup. Obviously, close air positions makes airplay good. I mean, it's not rocket science, but you know, for example, Void Ray all-in can work quite well on this map. You can use the Void Rays later. Phoenix openings are good, but on the other hand, Banshee openings are good. Dropship-oriented play. You can have drops running back and forth from your main to your opponent's base very easily. It makes it very difficult for the Protoss to deal with that if he's not prepared. So that kind of stuff does come into play. In general, the rush distance by ground is pretty small here as well. It's not tiny, but it's pretty small.
Yeah,
and as you can see,
being a little bit weird going across, of course, that does happen if you've rallied him behind a wall that you haven't seen yet.
Yep.
STC did notice that, but a little unfortunate that that wall-off was completed in time.
He made that extra depot early just to make sure that the probe wasn't able to scout the gas. That's all he wanted to see. Make sure the probe didn't see. Did you take gas or not? He wants to hide that he's going for a 1 barracks expand, like I predicted, you know, like you predicted as well. It's the STC.
Well, actually, as we say that, he's now taking both gas.
Well, that's not a 1 barracks gas expand, STC. What are you doing? I've seen players do this a lot more recently, and to be honest, I actually don't fully understand it, where they don't make their gases, they make 2 gas. I've seen Protosses do it, actually, and this Marine really wants to kill that probe, but he's not going to be able to. He is going to be able to, however, find out where the probe is running back to, and this SCV is going to immediately go in the right direction. Up into the base of Finale. Finale chrono boosting out of Stalker. The SCV sees everything it wants to see, though. Sees where the pylons are, sees the 2 gases. Sees no Zealot as well.
Yeah.
Not a huge deal, but somewhat of a tell there. Factory going down for the STC. I'm kind of curious to see what he's going to do. He did take both of those gases pretty quick. May end up going for something like a Banshee timing attack, or just opening with a Banshee, then expanding behind it.
There's a lot of options you can have with those 2 gases. So it really comes down to what he feels like doing or what he's practiced to do. A lot of the times you see these guys who come out first in the GSTL, they practice one specific strategy all week, and that's what they're going to use. But of course, we do see a Stargate play coming here from Finale, so this could be interesting.
What did I say, man? It's Metalopolis. It's the best map to actually do Void Ray all-ins, and I'll tell you guys why. You guys have all played on Metalopolis. If you haven't, you should probably downvote it out of your map pool. Even though if you don't like closed positions, just do it. Just play it for a few times. Behind your minerals, there's a little area where Stalkers can stand and hit SCVs. Speaking of Stalkers hitting SCVs, there's one right now, taking out that SCV. If you have a Void Ray giving vision of the SCVs mining, you can have Stalkers fire at those SCVs. The Void Ray gives vision, and not only that, you can attack buildings, you can do whatever you want. It's actually so difficult to stop. We're going to see Pre-Igniter Hellions from the STC.
Interesting combination. Interesting combination from here, but it's going to come down to, can he scout this Void Ray coming? Usually after this, we do see the extra 2 gateways going down, of course, for the 3-gate Void Rays.
There they are.
It's interesting because we have seen it used a few different ways as well. Some people use it as an all-in and to kill people. Others use it to just contain. And after they get that Void Ray, they get 1 or 2 Phoenix afterwards to stop any dropships coming and dropping the units out, and can really just contain them while they get their own expansion up. That's a more safer way to play it, but it is more technical, and it is a lot easier to screw it up. Oh! Where did he come from?
I don't know, he just walked in the front door. That's why you gotta keep your door closed. That's what your mom's always telling you, and then suddenly everyone knows about your Void Rays.
Right, so he's going to get a big tip-off for this. He's got those Marines patrolling around, 3 Stalkers, 4 Stalkers running into the front of the STC space, but at the same time, we have a dropship coming down at the back. Blue Flame is not done yet. It's very close, and this is what's frustrating about this. The supply depots get picked off all the time.
This is true. Here comes the drop in the back of the Protoss base. He's going to try to target down these depots. Here come the Hellions.
The Blue Flame is done. There's nothing here to help these probes. STC, how many kills is he going to get, Wolf? He hasn't noticed yet. A bunker going down behind the mineral line there in the STC space. He hasn't noticed yet.
He has done nothing with his probes. He's losing probes left and right.
He also has a Viking to deal with that Void Ray. Nicely done by the STC. He's getting so many probe kills. This could be over already. He hasn't even tried to move his probes.
Yeah, I think he's freaking out here. I mean, honestly, even if you try to move your probes, it doesn't even help that much at this point when you have Hellions there. I think this is going to be it.
He's coming up the ramp now. This is going to be what he wants to do. Force filling the back of that supply depot. Going hard on that Viking, though. He's going to lose that Void Ray. There's a lot of units here. That bunker still hasn't gone down. He needs to focus down those Zealots. 1 goes down. 2nd one. Oh, more SCVs coming to repair. It's not going to die.
Oh, that's it, man. That bunker stays up, and the game will end. Right now, as far as worker count goes, it's 2 probes to 25 SCVs. That's it, man. No production whatsoever right now. Where are those probes? They're like out in the middle of the map. They're not even mining.
No.
STC is sending his Hellions home because he's like, actually, you don't have any probes left for me to kill.
Yeah.
And this attack, he's going to try it again. Obviously, it will not work. The Vikings may even land here to help out. They don't even have to. That's going to be it. GG. Well, that was quick. STC, hardest egg to crack. He's like, oh, right, I have to come out of the booth. Let me just walk out here and do a celebration.
And like I was saying, that was pretty much textbook defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of that build. He had the bunker behind the mineral line, he had his SCVs out, he had that Viking straight away. Too easy.
Too easy. Giving every single player on OGS a high five. He left no one hanging. Even giving Top a hug. He's got to be really happy with that. It's his first televised match.
Yep.
Does win it. And
played pretty much perfectly as well.
Yeah. MVP.
Of course, it's no surprise to you and me because we've seen him do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's good that he's finally
He
getting
defends everything, man. You can't get him with anything. Now, the Hellions came into play, obviously, because if the Hellions weren't there, then he could have just backed up and went home and would have been fine. The problem is, you were talking like he hasn't noticed the probes. I think he may have just been like, if I pull the probes, they're all going to die. There's 2 Hellions there. I have no units. I'm just going to try to let them keep mining, get as much money as I can, warp in as many units because that 1 or 2 Stalker difference might be enough to where I can win. It just didn't happen.
Well, it does come down to did he have the cooldown on his warp gates to warp in units to defend the Hellions as well.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch to see if he had just warped in units because so many things were going on there at once.
Yep. So, who do you think we're going to see second?
Well, that's a good question. I think we may end up seeing Genius. Genius has shown a lot of promise in PBT. If they pull out Genius and take Tal'Darim Altar, then we all know Genius is going to do the 5-gate all-in. It's no longer a secret. No. But we may end up seeing Genius. I would not be surprised. Genius is a really good Protoss player. He likes those early timing attacks, but he can also play in the late game. Like I was saying on Cast last time I talked about him, he's so unpredictable, and that's what makes him a great player.
Yeah, a couple of trends I have seen from MVP, though, is they do like to play Guinea Pig. They love to play Dongregu, so those will definitely be played today. Even though Guinea Pig is their random play, he's played in every single match, pretty much, that they've done.
It's true.
And of course, Dongregu is Dongregu. He's going to show up
Dongregu will most likely be the ace, I think. He tends to be, and sometimes it works out for him, sometimes it doesn't.
Yep. His ZVTs are much stronger than his other matchups, though, from what I've seen. So they could be waiting to see what's going to happen, but I definitely think we'll see those two. But the next player is anyone.
All right, we're going to go into a coach interview, though, here really quick, so take a look at that.
예, 우선 첫 단추를 잘 끼는 것 같아서 너무 행복했고요. 무엇보다 선수들이 나름대로 짠 엔트리라서 더욱 값지지 않나 생각합니다. 그 기세를 몰아서 이번 시즌 좀 더 높은 곳으로 갈 수 있도록 최선을 다하겠습니다. 어느 팀보다 OGS 팀이 강팀이라는 거는 누구나 알고 있는 사실이고요. 저도 강팀인 만큼 어떻게 보면 강한 엔트리로 나가야 한다고 생각은 하지만 오히려 반대로 이제까지 알려지지 않은 선수들을 쓰는 게 좋은 결과를 날 것 같거든요. 그래서 오늘 컨셉은 아마 이제까지 GSTL에서 한 번도 뛰지 않은 선수를 2명 이상 기용하는 겁니다. 우선 해외 대회 때문에 장민철 선수가 빠진 걸로 알아요. 이 상황에서 저희가 지면 더 안 좋겠죠? 민철이가 빠졌고 또 지난 시즌에도 한번 이겨본 경험이 있기 때문에 이번 시즌 오늘 경기도 저희가 이기도록 하겠습니다.
So, did he just call out OGS like that?
I guess
Did I
so,
read
man.
that right?
It looks like it.
특별한 기분은 없고요. 어차피 다 풀리그이기 때문에 전 팀하고 다, 그러니까 저희 조에 있는 전 팀하고 다 경기를 해야 하기 때문에 뭐 첫 경기가 MVP라고 뭐 따로 드는 생각은 없고요. 뭐 지난 시즌에 저희가 졌지만 이번 시즌에는 충분히 이길 수 있을 거라 생각합니다. 이전까지는 이제 풀리그가 아니라서 이제 토너먼트였잖아요. 그래서 이제 그날 컨디션에 따라서 이제 이기고 지고 하는 변수도 많이 작용을 했던 것 같고, 이번 시즌부터는 이제 풀리그니까 저희 조에 속해 있는 모든 팀하고 전 경기를 다 해야 하잖아요. 그렇기 때문에 아무래도 상대적으로 저희 팀이 전력이 세다고 저도 개인적으로 생각을 하기 때문에 그런 운도 이겨낼 수 있을 거라 생각을 하고, 이번 시즌은 전승을 목표로 플레이오프 꼭 진출해서 우승하도록 하겠습니다. MVP 감독님께서 저한테 며칠 전에 말씀하셨는데 장민철 선수, 최정민 선수를 차와 포에 비교하시더라고요. 차포 뛰고 할 수 있겠냐라고 말씀하셨는데 저희는 전 선수가 차와 포입니다. 그러니까 두 선수 없어도 MVP 꼭 이길 수 있고요. 한 번 이겼다고 항상 이긴다고는 생각하지 않아요. 그러면은 항상 어떤 선수가 계속 우승만 하겠죠. 그렇기 때문에 오늘 꼭 짓밟아 드리겠습니다.
Well, that's pretty interesting. They're both like, well, we're going to use unknown players to crush the other team. A lot of discussion about MC. Obviously, MC considered one of the best players of OGS, if not the best. He just shows a lot of results. Obviously, Huck has been showing a lot of results, and Huck, I think overall has a lot more results than MC, to be honest. If you turn back the pages of the history book and look back to the beta, he was like always number one on the ladder, and except like there was that one time where Neens was always number one on the ladder, and then Huck, you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Huck, he's shown a lot of promise in foreign events. But you can't count those out because a lot of those foreign events now have Koreans in them.
They do, and he also has just advanced to round of 16 for Code S. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him today as a strong maybe third player, possibly fourth. I think it would be a good idea for OGS to pull him out, but we'll see how we want to go. But it's going to be... I'm itching to know who MVP is going to send next.
Me too, man. I think we're about to find out. I think we are. It's looking at Dong Regu, but...
no, we just keep going back and forth.
I think the Korean commentators think that he's going to pick Dong Regu.
This early is very interesting for him to do that. Generally, I've had a lot of discussion with FX or Oz about this because, of course, he was a former coach of oh my God,
Foyu.
Yeah.
Wake up. Wake up, unstable. Twilight Foyu, of course, his former name.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so he's he has a lot of coaching experience. So I don't know. I think it'll be really interesting to see if they pick him, but we're gonna find out. We're actually really gonna find out. I see the little lights moving behind me. I know it's time. Oh, who's that? Who's that?
I hate it when they jump up so quick you can't see their face.
Yeah. It's MVP Monster, I think. We'll find out. The STC is going to wait for him to join the lobby. Now, again, that name, MVP Monster, is the name I think that this guy has. I've seen him before. His face isn't extremely familiar to me. That is, it's a Zerg player, so he's played 2 games. Won 1, lost 1. That record doesn't really mean anything to me, though, because honestly, like you were saying, you can't judge someone until you've seen them play a lot of games, or you've seen them a lot. And, you don't really know how well this guy does on the ladder all the time. You don't know what he's practicing, and even if you played him on the ladder, you don't necessarily know, oh, he's this good because I beat him on the ladder that one time. You can't judge people like that. We don't have prejudices here at the GSL. So,
I haven't really seen his play at all, so... Definitely interesting. I wonder what map is going to be as well. I haven't actually figured that out yet. But you do get time to actually think about this kind of stuff. It's going to be Terminus 3 for the second map.
Yeah.
So, of course, the loser does get to pick the map. They do get to pick the player as well. So there's definitely going to be some strategies involved with that. Usually, games 2 and 3 are the ones where you get those sniping situations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny to me because if they know anything about the STC style and how risky he is with expanding and how macro-oriented he is, picking a map like Terminus Re is like saying, yeah, I want to climb Mount Everest and I don't want to bring any equipment with me. Like, I just want to do the hardest thing ever. So, obviously, Monster feels extremely confident with this macro to pick a map this large to try to do a game against this player. Obviously, you can see one of the coaches of OGS going in there, talking to the STC, probably telling him what he thinks he should do on this specific map. He's probably saying, do what we've talked about. We practiced on Terminus, you knew this situation might come up. Do what you know. Don't try to do anything weird. Because sometimes coaches just have to say that to players, because some players just freak out and do an all-in when they practiced otherwise. just happens.
Well, a lot of players tend to be used as sniping players, and the downside to that is, yes, it gets rid of that stronger player, but the downside is you're pretty much trading a win for a win, because sometimes they aren't as strong as other matchups, they don't have that well-rounded base, and they can be taken out fairly easily sometimes in the next map. So we might see a snipe come out here, because of course they did know the STC was their first player for about a week now. They had the opportunity to go and think about what would happen if Finale lost.
Exactly. Now what I'm thinking here is we might end up seeing some aggression, like what we see from Kyrix a lot of the time. Maybe 2-base, Baneling aggression, just break down the front, because if we see some sort of really, really hyper-fast third base from the STC and it gets spotted, I could see him maybe just making a ton of Banelings and trying to end the game. I could see that. We do see that a lot on this map because it's the last thing you really expect.
Yeah.
And if you have enough Banelings, even if they have barracks wall-offs, you can find that one spot where there's a weak point, or there aren't 3 barracks, it's like 2 barracks, and then a supply depot there on the edge, so sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's a little straggling tech lab that just happens to be researching Stim, and you go through that tech lab, and you're like, ah! The whole game ends. You make that noise too, that's what happens.
Maybe we'll see how we go. But Terminus Re between these two guys, it's a very interesting map for them to choose. Of course it is. You do have that very quick third coming out, but we'll see how we go.
Terminus Re, a map that really lends itself towards more mobile styles, or in some cases extremely turtling styles, because you can take that third base very easily, and if you just play very defensively, you can get this big, scary mech kind of mixed with bio army that just moves forward and just destroys everything. It's very difficult for Zergs to deal with. So they have to be very mobile and counterattack, do little things like that, move out every time their opponent moves out. It's Lee's birthday today, that's what I was just told. So Lee, a great commentator, and I'm looking at him right now. Maybe we'll get a shot of it on the camera, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know if you guys know who Lee is, but he's the guy who sits in the center when the Koreans are casting. Obviously, he doesn't cast every single GSL event, but he casts a lot of them. There he is. There he is, right in the middle there. Great guy. He's actually pretty good with English. And little known fact about him, I'll tell you guys, it was kind of a secret, but I don't think it's like a secret just because no one knows it's not actually a secret. He does the voices for a lot of the the little voiceovers like FXO Oz, except he didn't do that one, I don't think, but he did the original ones, and obviously his voice is edited a little bit with that. It's not like his actual voice. He doesn't just talk like that. But yeah, he does the voices, so now you guys know who he is. The people call him the Street Fighter voice guy. That's him.
That's him.
So now you guys know.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, you have to do a very mobile style a lot of the time. Either you have to or your opponent has to. Someone's got to do it. Both people go like this little slow. It's like you can't use Hydras on this map. I mean, you can't use Hydras in CVT. You just can't. That's a joke. But you just can't. You can't use slow units. You have to use a very mobile army. You got to do drops. You got to be mobile. You can't just sit back and just make a lot of roaches and then attack later or make a lot of infestors. As long as you're moving out with your infestors, you're dropping infested Terrans, harassing bases, fungling things, that's fine. But you don't want to just build this ball of units and attack. As a Zerg player, you want to be more mobile. Because in a straight-up fight with a big ball of Terran units versus a big ball of Zerg units, sometimes the Terran units just end up being more cost-efficient.
Yeah. So, it's too dynamic to actually have a look. Because we don't really know what Monster's playstyle is, it does give him a very good advantage when coming in against the STC. Of course, the STC not all that known outside of Korea, but in Korea, he is very well known.
That's true. And, both teams said they wanted to use players that weren't that well known strategically. Like they wanted to use him. Oh, he doesn't really know what he plays. He's not really going to expect what's going on. So we'll see. Countdown starting. The map's loading up here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to jump into it in a second, guys. Get pumped. Get excited. It's going to be the STC versus Monster here at the GSTL Jupiter Week 3. I am Wolf, and with me is Unstable. Let's jump into it.